Hey everybody, our guest today is the most influential person in the Australian real estate industry. He's the author of two of the best self-development books, You Don't Have to Be Born Brilliant and Ewing. His books many considered to be the catalyst to success in business and in life. He's appeared as an investor in the Australian TV show Shark Tank. He is the founder of one of the most innovative and respected real estate agencies in the world that he started in 1988 from a small office in Paddington, Sydney, now 95 offices all around Australia. Please help me in welcoming John McGrath.
G'day Nathan, morning here, afternoon there, good to see you.
Good morning to you then. I just wanted to catch up with you today and have a chat to you about, there's been a lot of talks about slower market, which we are having here in New Zealand, in Christchurch, compared to what we had over the last 2 or 3 years. It's kind of similar where you are in Australia. I just want to pick your brain. I've heard you say that before. Talk about this, about the inner market and outer markets.
So Nate, great point. And I think a lot of markets around the world, not just Australia and New Zealand, have changed. And I hesitate in calling them bad markets because they're just different markets. Because Christchurch, if you are one of the best agents in Christchurch or Sydney or Auckland or Melbourne or anywhere, it means you've probably got to sell, if you're going to be in the top 1%, it means you've probably got to sell 50 properties this year. There's a lot more than 50 properties selling Christchurch and every marketplace. So my view is forget the statistics, don't read the newspapers. All you have to do is find a way to list and sell 50 to 100 properties. Now, if you're already at 70, let's talk about how do you get to 150. So I often use, as you know, Nate, because we've been friends for many years, I often use the metaphor of how do you 2x your business. So the first thing I think you have to do, excuse me, there's a terrible flu running around the country at the moment, Australia. First thing you have to do is you have to own your results, take responsibility and realise that nothing on the outside, which doesn't just include the market or the economy, it also includes competition, legislation, change in anything, has any significant impact on what you can achieve. I use the word significant. Now, if the government brought in some shift, could that adjust your results at least temporarily by a few percent? Yes, it could. But is that reason to halve your results? No, it's not. So first thing is own your results, take responsibility, get rid of your excuses. Once you've done that, you then start living in what we call the inner market, which Dr. Fred Gross from your beautiful town with his wife Victoria lives in your beautiful town of Christchurch, your city of Christchurch. And Dr. Fred taught me this many years ago. John, there's the inner market and the outer market. The inner market is what you control. Your goals, your hopes, your skills. A great quote, Nathan, I came across the other day, and it said, in the age of information, which we all live in the age of information, ignorance is now a choice. So you think about it. I'm sitting in Christchurch. I haven't got much money. I'm trying to get ahead in real estate, and I'm making excuses. Oh, my boss doesn't train me. I'm not a part of a big chain or whatever. Damn well, get onto the internet, get onto YouTube, whatever. And it's great if they came to Rise or if they can afford to come to ARIC. That's all great stuff. But there is no excuse for not accessing world-class information anymore. There's free podcasts. There's great events. I mean, you held one recently in your city. There's the YouTube, there's Twitter, there's really great stuff. So Dr. Fred said, the stuff that matters you control, putting it simply. The stuff that you don't control doesn't matter. If interest rates go up 1% or 3%, doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. It'll change the dynamic. Some people might have to sell. Some people might stall buying for a minute. But at the end of the day, there's going to be more than enough business transacting in your market to double your business next year. So it's about controlling the controllables, owning the stuff that makes the difference, ignoring the stuff that doesn't. And in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. So if you want to be good, I mean, you're kindly, from your generosity, sending this out to your audience free of charge because we like each other and you want to add value as I do to the market. And we got an upcoming event called ARIC, and if people want to come to that, that's good too. But, really, you could just hopefully sit and listen to this, and you could have attended Rise, and you could listen to Tommy Panos's Real Estate Gym, or listen to $1 Million Agent podcast, there's more than enough information. It's no longer about just access to information. It's about application consistently of either what you know or what you can readily find out. So I reckon most people in there that are watching this are probably applying 10 or 20% at most of what they know. If I said, Nathan, if you're going to be a world-class agent, here are 10, 20 things you have to do every day. And if you do these 20 things, you will dominate Christchurch, you'll dominate Auckland, you'll be one of the best in the world, not just New Zealand. Those 20 things are not that hard to come by. And some of them are going to be characteristics. You need to be energetic, you need to be optimistic, you need to be enthusiastic, you need to be able to communicate well, you need to be able to connect well, you need to have your ego in check. So there's going to be some characteristics. Mm-hmm. Some of them are going to be skills. So you have to be a good lister, you have to be a good negotiator, you have to be a good auctioneer if that's what you're going to do. So there's character, there's skills, and then there's habits and daily practices. So you have to maybe get up a little bit earlier than your competition. You have to have checklists for important activities. You have to have your desk clean and organised. Or you need to have the right technology, whether that's iPhone, not YouTube, iPad, whatever it is. So when you look at it, that list, and is that list 10 or 20 or 30? It's not a big list. And if I said, okay, Nate, there you are, day one in real estate, you do all these things. In 6 months, you could be world best. I'm not talking about a university degree, then an internship, then 30 years down the track. I'm saying in 6 months of applying the stuff that you probably already know, or Nathan, you can find out pretty readily, you would be one of the best in the world. And when you become one of the best in the world in this industry, you earn more than almost anyone else on the planet. Not that it's all about that, because as you and I discuss regularly privately, it's about why are you doing it? Yeah. And when you don't have any money, any funds, or if you have financial pain, getting some money to get out of pain and get into organisation and comfort and going from fear to confidence is a good thing. But as many of your listeners will have already know, once you get to a certain level and you're out of pain and you're into comfort, getting lots more comfort is not really what it's all about. You can only drive one car and you can only sleep in one beautiful bed in one beautiful house, and you can probably only have one holiday a year, maybe two. The question is, what is the difference that you're able to make in the community? And I was reading a book the other day. I've just started reading a book. It's called I think it's called The $1 Trillion Coach. And it's by a guy called Bill Campbell. And he has coached Steve Jobs, Eric Schmidt from Google. He's coached many of the world's best CEOs. I think he came from a sporting background from recollection. Anyway, short, Bill Campbell, one of the quotes that he said, which I really loved, was, if you're blessed, be a blessing. If you're blessed. So what does that mean? If you get it, the light globe's on, you put all this stuff into action, you tenfold your income, you become the most successful agent in New Zealand or the world, I would call that a blessing. And sure, there's hard work and effort and you deserve it all. But in a sense, it's kind of a blessing that you've seen all that stuff and you've accessed the information, you've put it in place and you've done it. So if you're blessed, become a blessing. So spread the good news, pay it forward, give people access to the insights that you've got, which I think is what you and I, hopefully we're doing now. And what we like doing, the whole reason you and I caught up is you reached out one day and said, hey, watch what you're doing. I'd like to, sort of get some insights. And we had a coffee and we developed a lifelong friendship. So I think that's really important. Inner market, dump your excuses, own your results, live in the inner market, block out the outer market. And I'm talking, Nate, specifically block it out. That means don't watch the 6 o'clock news every night. Mm-hmm. Some people say, oh, well, how can you not do that? Well, it's absolutely possible. Now, what does that literally mean? Like, there are definitely times when I walk in a room and the 6 o'clock news is on and I watch it for 5 minutes. But there are people that actually can't wait to read the paper every day, watch the news. Nowadays on the internet, they might go to an internet news site. The problem with that is if you actually dissect it all, 93% of the news, I made that number up, but 90% call it of the news is negative.
Yeah.
Because negative news sells newspapers or internet sites or whatever. So you actually, by definition, you're defaulting to spend 60 minutes of your life out of 24 hours a day. You're spending one of them listening to some of the most negative stuff on the planet, when you could be taking your family or your partner for a walk. You could be at the gym. You could be reading $1 Trillion Coach. You could be making some prospecting calls. You could just be relaxing, watching a movie. But anything other than exposing yourself to the most negative news on the planet, that's all neatly compiled and brought into a 60-minute segment and delivered to your television screen. So it's all very easy to do. So Dr. Fred taught us shielding. And he said, you have to, and one of the ways of shielding, as you know, Star Wars, you put a shield around yourself. Well, in our world, shielding is you put a mental, physical, emotional barrier around yourself. And part of that is getting rid of the stuff and the people, because sometimes in your office or in your workplace or in your community, there are a lot of negative people. And sometimes we all grow up together and the negative ones keep hanging out with the positive ones. And sometimes they pollute the water, if you will. So you have to have a look at, what are you exposing yourself on the media? Who are the people you're dealing with day to day? And is that inspiring you? Because a part of being a world best agent is being inspired daily and making good mindset choices. So yeah, there are some of the things. So I don't think that matters what the market does. I'm happy to give people my insights. If a journalist says to me, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, I don't have a problem giving them a prognosis, my view, but I don't live there and I don't worry about it. And I don't say, oh my God, well, what if the market drops for another 5%? I just say, whatever the market does, it does. And all I need to do is find 100 sellers a year that want to use me and 100 buyers that want to buy those sellers' properties, and delight everyone in the process, engage with them, talk straight. And I'd love to talk a bit more about that if we get time today. I know we've got a little sort of half-hour limit, but I think that's really interesting. Is my view about the future is, in this industry, is radical transparency and radical honesty, which this industry is renowned for, not just years, for decades, probably generations. This industry has had a very tough time telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I think it's got better, and hopefully people like you and me and the people that attended Rise and the people who spoke at Rise will be a part of that movement. But why don't people tell the truth in this industry when this is an important industry, and when a buyer comes along, they're about to invest their lifelong savings into a property or consider investing it into a property that you're representing? They deserve to hear the truth. And when a vendor hands you the key to their property, they're giving you their lifelong savings and trusting you to maximize the result, and not give them bullshit and not tell them stories and not hide stuff from them. So the other guy I'd love you and I think you and I have spoken about him before, but perhaps your listeners to check out, is Ray Dalio, D-A-L-I-O. So he wrote a book called Principles. Yeah. He's one of the wealthiest men in the world. I think his company is valued at $92 billion with a B. Mm-hmm. With an M would be fine, but with a B is even bigger, right? And he talks, one of his key philosophies, and it's a great book because the first half of it talks about how he runs his personal life, second half, and thinks about it and lives. Second half is how he runs his business. I've actually got it here. One of my favourite books, and I refer to it regularly. And the middle section, which is quite unusual, it's got all his kind of philosophy. You can see my highlighting where I've highlighted my favourite ones. Anyway, long story short is he talks about radical honesty and radical transparency. And that's a philosophy in his business that within his team and within his customers, he's incredibly transparent, and he tells them what he can and can't do, and he tells them what he does and doesn't know. So I think in our industry, there is a horrible lack of that approach, and there should be people committing to that. And someone said to me, well, if I tell the truth, I won't get the listing. And I actually disagree with that. If you tell the truth, it's always, in fact, I think it's the only way to go. Having said that, what you do need to do is, I guess, you don't want to take away the dream of someone by saying, Nathan, $1 million, you are on drugs, you're crazy, you're not going to get $1 million for this property. No, if it's worth more than $920, I'd be shocked. Because what you're actually doing then is you're embarrassing someone, you're taking away any prospect of, a mega premium. And how many properties over the years have we thought will never fetch $1 million and they've gone for 990 or $1,050,000? So there is a way to handle it. And that's around facts and figures and empathy and listening and understanding and saying, Nate, here are the comparables. Here's what I know for sure properties similar to yours have been selling to date. My job and your job is to work in partnership to maximise your price to the highest possible amount. I have no mental ceiling on what that might be, but I do know what similar properties have been selling for. So what you and I should spend our time on is how do we work together to maximise price? Or words to that effect. Go.
One other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was the importance of being transparent and working with integrity, and using price guides being more crucial than ever before, especially in a slower market like this. Because when a market is booming, everything is selling, you don't need much skill, knowledge, or you don't need to have information online. Now, I'll let you speak about price. What are your thoughts about it?
So, and private treaty or auction, whatever it is, publicising the estimate of price for me is a no-brainer. It's essential. 9 out of 10. There's always going to be the odd situation where it's not appropriate or not appropriate at that time. If you're selling a truly unique property, and it's a word that's used too much in real estate, but a truly unique property, you may not be able to put 1 to 1.1 million on day one. We're talking about 9 out of 10 here, so let's keep going. Realestate.com.au did a research, and they tracked people that went on their site, and they looked at or they reviewed what they look at, what they pass over, what they ignore, what they click on, what buttons they click on, and they did a very comprehensive. They found that 54% of people passed over, ignored if you will, properties that didn't have a price guide compared to properties that did have a price guide. So if you just take that as a given fact, it is a fact, but just take it without trying to understand, well, what about this, what about that? Half the people didn't look at properties that didn't have a price. So if you're an agent, you need to say to your client, do you want to miss half the buyers? Because if we go out there without a price guide or price, statistics tell us we are likely to miss half the buyers. I as a seller, wouldn't want to miss half the buyers. So then it brings you down to the question of, so that's the factual bit. So the reality is you've got to use price guides if you're a smart agent. Because part of being a smart agent is making it easy for people to participate and buy a property from you. So there's several things you need to do there. So on that, then you ask the question, Nate, so why don't people use price guides? One is because they're not radically honest and transparent. They don't have an honest conversation. And when the vendor is saying, well, I'd love to get $1 million, they're saying, oh, yeah, no problem. And in their mind, they're probably thinking, geez, I reckon it's more 900, closer to 900 than $1 million. So part of it is people are just not honest about it. Part of it is people are lazy and they just don't want to have the conversation, even though those that can sign here, move away, and we'll just, you didn't want a price on it, so I won't argue with you.
They don't want to tell the truth just in case they miss the listing.
Correct. The third thing is that just resistance to change is one of the greatest things that are going to have people leave this industry. People, if you think the way you did real estate in 2000 or 2010 or 2018 is going to be the same as 2020, you're deluding yourself. The industry's changing. Millennials are becoming the new buyers. Baby boomers are becoming, the sort of sellers, and millennials are becoming the buyers. People are using technology. They're not using Windows stores anymore, and in some instances, they're not even using local papers. So there's a whole range of change happening. And as an agent, if you're not at the forefront of that, so you might have been taught in a training session 5 years ago when you started real estate, don't use price guides, make the buyers come to you, you'll get more inquiry which by the way is garbage, you'll get more inquiry. Certainly not my experience, if you don't use price guides. So now you've got to say, you have to be transparent. Social media allows people to spread the good and the bad news faster than they ever have before. You have to be an expert at digital. You have to be rapidly becoming an expert at social. And I'm not talking, by the way, just about your personal brand. I'm talking about selling property. because I think social media is fast becoming a way of promoting property. One of our top guys, Peter Picorni, and his wife, Danielle, Pokorny. So your listeners should go and find his social media page. He works out of an office for us. He's one of our rising stars. As a matter of course, every time he lists a property, he walks out the front and he grabs his phone and he does a selfie with his wife and he says, "Hey everyone, we've just listed this beautiful home at 10 Smith Street. We're really proud to represent it. It's got great character. It's a 1960s style home and needs a little bit of refurbishment. But if you've got between 800 and 900 or probably 1.5, 1.6, please come and have a look at it. It'll be up on the internet in the next couple of days. I hope to see you here." So he does that bang. The minute he walks out of the house with the listing form and he's spreading it to his community and he pays $50 to boost it a little bit. And all of a sudden he's starting to sell properties before the first open for great prices in a market that a lot of agents are saying it takes you 3 months to find a buyer and you're going to have to discount. So for me, that's just a great example. Pokorny, Peter Picorni and Danielle. Check them out, follow them, go on their social media page, and you'll see. And by the way, they're not paying thousands of dollars for this advice. They came up with all the ideas themselves. They take their own videos in the main, and they just post it. And like an extravagant boost would be $50, but it's more likely $10. Mm-hmm. So, but the question is, Nate, you've got to be on the forefront of looking for where is the market going, not where has it been. What do sellers want today? What do buyers want today? What does a switched on agent look like, sound like, feel like, smell like? You've got to have what people are looking for today. And people are looking for transparency, speed, honesty. They want positivity, but they also want honesty. And I think you can be both. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to dominate. I know we've got a shortage of time. How are we going for time? We've still got another 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, we've got a couple of more things that we want to talk about quickly. Awesome. As you said, transparency and integrity is crucial in this business. We must make our job as agents is to make it as easy as we possibly can for buyers. Mm-hmm. Obviously, using a price guide is one of the things with all the information online. So people can have access to it in order for us to expose the property to 100% of the buyers.
Right.
To be able to maximize the value of the property. Now, one of the other things that I thought was important in the conference that we had here in Christchurch was self-development. And you're an avid learner yourself, and most of the people, all the people, the top agents or the principals or owners of businesses, they're avid learners. Now, I was just wanting to have a chat about the conference that you have coming up in 1st and 2nd of June, I believe it is, yeah?
2nd and 3rd, I think. Yeah, 2 and 3 June. I got the brochure here. 2nd and 3rd June, Aric at the Gold Coast. So, thank you. We love you guys to come. Quick. I mean, I'm pretty sure most of your listeners would have heard of it, but Aric, which stands for Australasian Real Estate Conference, started 23 years ago. Because I used to have to go to America to get exposure to world best speakers. And that was expensive, and it was exposing just me, and then I had to try and bring their insights back to my colleagues. So I decided to bring some of the speakers out from America to Australia. And anyway, that's evolved, and now we have 4,000 people attend each year, and we're very proud and delighted. There's usually about 800 or 900 Kiwis. We'd love 2,000 Kiwis, but it's great that you guys support us, and of course, we see ourselves all as very much of a big down under community, I think. So we always talk about Australasia, which is why it's called the Australasian and not the Australian Real Estate Conference. So what we try and do, Nate, every year is bring 20 to 25 of the best experts to one place. So a real estate person just has to get on a plane or get in the car and drive there and spend 48 hours and be exposed to all the good stuff. So what we're looking to do is we get a balance, and I know you've been to many of them. We get a balance, as you know. We're looking for expert coaches, advisors, mentors, people like Bill Campbell that I just spoke about. He's passed away, but his caliber is in another stratosphere. But we're talking about amazing people that coach some of the best real estate people around the planet. Then we look for, people like yourself, great agents that in their community are doing great things, and sometimes they're selling 120 properties, sometimes they're selling 30 properties. You know, they might be selling 30 properties at 10 million each, which is, I mean, Michael Pally is coming back this year, second time. Michael Pally is unbelievable agent, great guy, unbelievable agent. He sells the best properties in Australia, many of the best properties in Australia. Average price, my guesstimate would be 10 million, and he sells high volume. And when you meet him, listen to him, go to the event and listen. He is just an average, everyday guy. He used to be, interesting story, he used to be a mechanic for Rolls-Royce. He aspired to actually get beyond that, so he then applied for the sales job at Rolls-Royce when it came up. He came from very humble beginnings. Mm-hmm. They thought, wow, he was our top mechanic. He's applied. He's, you know, he's pretty straight down the line sort of guy. So they gave him a job. He then became the #1 Rolls-Royce salesperson in the world. Then he went to real estate, and now he's probably the best real estate salesperson in Australasia. So to be in a room and listen to people like that, and yeah, listen to them be Q&A'd, listen to what they've got to say, you know, 20-minute summary of their best insights and ideas is pretty life-changing. I found it anyway. And every year, well, sometimes I participate and I speak, and obviously part of the organising team, but I sit off to the side of stage and I'm just taking notes for 2 days. I love the stuff that I get to learn from it and the people that I get to meet. So Michael Pallier, highlight. There's a guy called Todd Duncan. So Todd Duncan was one of the best mortgage brokers on the planet himself. He used to sell mortgages, not houses. He then got into mortgage training because he thought he wanted to leverage his gift. You know, if you're blessed, you need to be a blessing. He wanted to leverage his gift, so he started training. And then he found out that the training for mortgage brokers was pretty much identical requirements for real estate. So he's now sort of doing both mortgage brokers and real estate. And the stuff, I had a call, Troy and I had a call with him about 10 days ago. And he just was very professional. He wanted to spend an hour with us, like here on a Zoom call, just getting to understand the market, the Australian real estate guys, what are their challenges, what are the key topics. His professionalism was amazing, and he's going to deliver 2 incredible sessions, about 3 hours in total. So, yeah, look, I think, this was never intended to be an advertorial for ARIC, but I know you're a very passionate attendee and supporter, attendee.
I've been ARIC, many ARICs, and the reason we're talking today is because I went to ARIC many years back, and I reached out to you and said, hey, can we catch up for a coffee and see how we can you can help me do what we're doing today here. So it's not just learning from the best of the best in the world, on the planet, but also networking with those people and making friends with them and learning from them, obviously, in one-on-one basis afterwards.
100% right. I agree 100%. So I'm just looking at this brochure as you're talking, Nate. I agree 100%. The friendships you make, which are fun, the people you meet that you can check in, and I know that, you know, you went and saw Phil Harris before you caught up with me recently in Australia, and Phil is a regular attendee and has spoken a couple of times at ARIC, and he's amazing. Tommy Hector. There you go, Tommy Hector. Works with...
Kevin spoke here in Christchurch last
Unbelievable.
conference.
Unbelievable. So, you know, he's the example of the sort of people that are there. Tommy, and I think it was in March, he sold 30 properties in 1 month.
Wow.
And that's easy. There's Michael Pallier. Mike Pallier, everyday guy, selling the best properties in Australia. So, you know, whatever your goals are for the next financial year, and of course, you know, come 1st of July, there's a new financial year in Australia starting. And so the question is, what do you want to do next year that's different, better, let's assume? And then the next question is, so what are you doing or going to do that's different, better than this year? And what is going to be your inspiration or catalyst or forum? And if it's not ARIC, and if you did or didn't go to Rise, I mean, it's got to be something. Well, what are you doing to shift yourself to a new space? Because excellence and record breaking doesn't happen by accident. It's always designed, it's planned, there are failures along the way, there's speed bumps, there's disappointments, there's review, there's changing of goals, changing of tactics, changing of strategy. But at the end of the day, it is important that you find a catalyst and an environment and a forum to reset yourself for the 12 months ahead. So yeah, look, I hope your guys come there. I know you'll be there, and we're going to be delighted to spend some time together. But no, look, it's a fun event. It's funny. Some people in Australia recently, I've had about a dozen, have said to me, cash flow's tight at the moment. So here's what I said. I said, look, with respect, I'm not wanting to be rude, but if cash flow's tight, you need to be there more than anyone, because it means your sales have dropped off, right? So don't use that as an excuse not to go. Use that as a reason you must go. Number one. Number two is I've said to the Kiwis as well. So I said to the Aussies that came to me, if you can't afford a ticket, which is about $1,000, $900 or something, let me know, and we'll break it down over the next 6 or 12 months. So you're spending $100, $150 a month. Because actually, for me, Nate, because I do feel blessed, being in this industry, in this part of the world, as we both are, I want to share the blessing. So if you are finding it hard to find a way to get there, just commit, get there, find a cheap flight, and there are plenty. It's a couple of hours from your great country to the Gold Coast, direct. I think maybe 3, and we'll do a deal on fees that will make it easy for you. I don't care. Take 10 years to pay it off. Doesn't really matter. But just expose yourself to the best people on the planet. So I think maybe if I'll give you a registration link to the page, but if anyone wants to email me directly and say, JM, love to be there. It's a bit hard for me to pay $1,000 at the moment. We'll sort that out. Don't worry about it. Please don't anyone feel that they can't expose themselves, because these 22, 25 people, whatever it is, they're not going to be assembled ever again in the same place, same time. So it's pretty exciting opportunity.
We can put a link down below mentioning that what you've offered them. So now there's no excuse to attend this brilliant conference, and not because you go there to spend a couple of days in Gold Coast, but this could be life-changing. I think it has changed.
And the Gold Coast is a fun spot too. A lot of people actually that come to the conference nowadays, certainly if you can afford it, they'll often bring their spouse and sometimes their kids, and they'll spend a few extra days before or after, and they'll have a little bit of a holiday. And they not only have a holiday, they spend 2 days listening to the best minds in real estate. Then they want to spend, before they get back to being busy in Christchurch or Auckland or Wellington, they actually want to think about, how am I going to implement it? So they spend a couple of days around the pool thinking about it, redoing their plan for next year. So it actually, and that's one of the reasons we've kept it at the Gold Coast for a number of years, is because it's a great holiday environment, and kids and family can go off to the waterworks and the movie sets and so forth, or the beach while you're doing it. So yeah, anyway, it's good. But I'm just glad that we've been on this together, because you and I, we really love each other and we love the time we spend. I'm very proud of seeing your beautiful office there, and congratulations, because I know it was the vision for you a number of years ago when you were starting out, when I first met you in real estate. And I know you had great success in sport prior. Real estate and sport are a bit different, so you've been able to achieve that. So delighted to have you as a friend. Thank you for sharing some ideas with us, or allowing us to share ideas with you. And I'll see you at ARIC, and hopefully I'll see some of your friends from New Zealand.
Thank you for your time, John. And I know you've influenced my business life more than anybody else. So I appreciate you as a friend and as a mentor. And so I really appreciate your time. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Nate. And I look forward to seeing as many of you can get there at ARIC, and if not, in New Zealand or Australia sometime soon. Thanks, guys.
We'll get you here one day as well, John.
I would love to go there. I mean, Christchurch, I think, is one of the greatest cities in the world, and I love it dearly. I love Auckland. I love Wellington. We did a conference at Queenstown recently, and that's magnificent. There's nowhere in New Zealand that I could ever think I'd go to that wouldn't be magnificent. So, yeah, it'll be fun, and I look forward to seeing you there.
We look forward to having you here next year. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Nate.